The night split open with thunder. Rain hammered the glass towers of Graves Biotech, drowning the empty city street below. Ethan Cole dragged his mop bucket toward the lobby doors, shoulders aching from another 12-hour shift. His janitor's uniform clung damp to his skin, but what weighed heavier was the thought of his daughter's pills waiting at home, pills that were running out. He muttered under his breath, "One more hour, just one more." A flash of white caught his eye. At first, he thought it was trash caught in the wind. Then it moved, stumbling, collapsing onto the marble steps of the tower. It was a woman. Her wedding dress was torn, clinging to her body in the storm. Bare feet slapped against wet stone. Black mascara streaked down her cheeks like ink. Her breath came in broken gasps, every exhale trembling. Ethan froze, hand still gripping the mop handle. Hey, are you hurt?" The woman lifted her head. Lightning cracked overhead, illuminating her face for just a second. Delicate features, eyes, swollen from crying, lips trembling. She shook her head violently. Don't come near me." Ethan raised his palms, stepping slowly down the steps. "Easy. I'm not here to hurt you. You're bleeding. Your hand. Look." She glanced at her palm. Blood mixed with rain, dripping onto the white dress. She pressed it against her chest, clutching herself. "They'll find me. They always find me." Ethan hesitated. Something about the way she said it. It wasn't just fear, it was certainty. Who's after you?" Her chest rose and fell in frantic rhythm. She tried to stand, but her knees buckled. Instinct pulled Ethan forward, catching her before she hit the ground. She flinched at his touch. Please don't take me back." He slid his jacket off, draping it over her trembling shoulders. His voice dropped, steady, the same tone he once used to calm soldiers in firefights. "You're safe now." The words seemed to hang in the storm, but instead of relief, Isabella froze. Her body went rigid in his arms. Her pupils widened, as if she'd heard something terrifying. She turned her face to him, whispering so softly he almost missed it under the thunder. "No one is safe if they find me." Ethan's gut clenched. He studied her, the ruined dress, the broken makeup, the terror stitched into every word. This wasn't a drunk runaway. This wasn't a lost bride. Something far darker was chasing her. He tried to keep his voice calm. "Listen, I can take you inside, get you warm. No one's around." She grabbed his wrist with surprising strength. "Inside that building? No, anywhere but there." The rain soaked them both, but Ethan noticed her eyes darting, not just at shadows, but at the glowing Graves Biotech logo above the glass doors. Her fear wasn't random, it was focused. "You know this place?" Her lips parted, but she shut them quickly, like even saying the words could trigger danger. "If I go back in there, they'll kill me. Or worse." Ethan swallowed. He didn't know her, didn't owe her, but something in her voice cut deeper than duty. It was survival. Another bolt of lightning lit the street. Across the road, Ethan thought he saw a dark SUV parked under a dead streetlight. No headlights, no movement. Just watching, his pulse ticked up. "All right, we move. Now." She blinked at him, confused. "Why are you helping me?" He pulled her arm over his shoulder, steadying her. "Because you won't last 5 more minutes out here." She didn't argue. Her legs barely carried her weight as he guided her to the side entrance, away from the front doors. The storm drowned out the sound of their footsteps, but Ethan's instincts screamed at every shadow. Years ago, he'd promised himself he was done with danger, done with secrets, but tonight, danger had found him again, in the form of a crying bride who whispered like a hunted ghost. As the side door hissed open, Isabella glanced over her shoulder, rainwater dripping from her hair, her whisper barely carried. "It's too late, they're already here." And for the first time in years, Ethan felt the old chill of war crawling up his spine. The service door slammed shut behind them, muting the storm. Inside, the halls of Graves Biotech gleamed with sterile light. The marble floors reflected the faint hum of fluorescent fixtures. It was late, nearly midnight. Ethan should have been alone. Isabella's breathing quickened the moment her eyes landed on the company crest embossed on the lobby wall, a silver serpent coiled around a double helix. She jerked away from him, clutching the jacket around her shoulders like a shield. No, no, not here, anywhere but here. Ethan raised his hands in surrender. Relax, it's just a building, 4 walls, a roof. You'll dry off, get your bearings. Her eyes flashed. You don't understand. This isn't just a building, this is a cage. Ethan frowned. He'd mopped these floors for months, swept past locked doors and restricted labs he never questioned. To him, it was just a paycheck. But to her, it looked like hell. Then tell me, who are you running from? Her lips trembled. She looked down, gripping the wet fabric of her dress until her knuckles turned white. Then, in a whisper that cracked, Alexander Graves. The name hit Ethan like a cold draft. Everyone in the city knew the CEO of Graves Biotech. The magazines called him visionary. The workers whispered tyrant. Ethan had seen him only once, descending the lobby stairs with a perfect suit and a smile that never reached his eyes. The boss, she nodded, tears pooling again. My fiancé. Ethan blinked, unsure if he'd heard her right. Wait, fiancé? You were... Tonight... Her voice splintered. Tonight was my wedding, not by choice. He forced me, said I owed him everything, my family's name, my silence, my life. Ethan's chest tightened. He glanced at the bruises, blooming along her wrists, the haunted look in her eyes. This wasn't heartbreak, it was captivity. So you ran. Her gaze flicked upward, searching the lobby cameras. She leaned closer, voice dropping to a desperate hiss. Not just ran. I took something. The only thing that might stop him. She fumbled inside the jacket, pulling free a small waterproof case. She opened it just long enough for Ethan to see the glint of a black flash drive. Files. Trials. Experiments he's hiding. People think Graves Biotech is curing the sick. He's using them, testing on them. The words landed like lead in Ethan's stomach. His mind leapt to Lena, his daughter, fragile, fighting every day for breath. The thought of children strapped to beds, used as test subjects. He forced himself back to the moment. If that's true, you can't just stand here waving it around. I didn't know where else to go. I thought maybe someone here would help me. Her voice broke on the last word. Ethan rubbed his face, exhaling. This was insane. He was just a janitor. He wanted to get her out of the storm, not into the middle of a conspiracy. Then he noticed movement in the glass doors at the far end of the lobby. Shadows, 3 men in black suits, moving with precision. Security. Ethan's instincts roared awake. His pulse slammed in his ears. We're not alone, Isabella spun, eyes widening at the figures spreading through the entrance like a net. It's him. He sent them. The lobby doors groaned open. Rain spilled across the marble as Graves security stepped inside, boots clicking in unison. Their earpieces glinted under the lights. One of them raised a hand, speaking into his mic. Visual confirmed. Bride is inside, moving in. Isabella gripped Ethan's arm with shaking fingers. Please, don't let them take me back. Ethan's jaw tightened. He wasn't supposed to get involved. He was supposed to stay invisible, mop floors, clock out. But her voice, the same kind of broken plea he'd once heard from soldiers left behind, cut straight through his resolve. He leaned down, whispering with a calm he didn't feel. Follow my lead. They ducked behind a maintenance pillar, just as the guards fanned out. Ethan's mind raced. He knew the blind spots of this building better than anyone. He also knew what would happen if Alexander Graves himself appeared. And then, the echo of footsteps on the marble staircase. Slow, controlled. A new voice, smooth as polished steel. Isabella. Her body seized at the sound of it. Ethan held her tighter against the pillar, willing her not to make a sound. Alexander descended the stairs with the kind of confidence that owned the ground he walked on. His suit was immaculate, hair slicked back, eyes sharp and cold. He didn't look like a man chasing a runaway bride. He looked like a king retrieving stolen property. "My darling, you've made quite the scene tonight." Isabella buried her, face against Ethan's shoulder, trembling. "Stay quiet!" Alexander reached the center of the lobby, clasping his hands behind his back. The guards flanked him like statues. "You know what happens if you resist me. Come now. No need for more." Unpleasantness, silence stretched, broken only by the storm outside. Ethan's mind spun. This wasn't his fight. But as Alexander's gaze swept the lobby, landing closer and closer to their hiding spot, Ethan made his choice. He turned his mouth to Isabella's ear. "Time to move!" He grabbed her hand. She didn't resist. Together they slipped into the maintenance corridor, just as Alexander's eyes narrowed at the sound of distant footsteps echoing away. The hunt had begun. The maintenance corridor smelled of bleach and metal. Ethan guided Isabella down the narrow passage, past pipes that rattled with the storm outside. His mind raced with every step. He shoved open a heavy door and pulled her inside. The storage closet was cramped, stacked with buckets and crates of cleaning supplies. The hum of the air vent masked their breathing. He let the door fall shut, then leaned against it, trying to steady his pulse. "Stay here. Don't make a sound." Isabella clutched the jacket around her shoulders, eyes darting in the dim light. "You don't understand. If they catch me, I understand enough. You're not the only one with something to lose." His words came out sharper than he meant. He turned away, running a hand through his wet hair. For a moment, the only sound was the storm rattling the vent above. Her voice softened. "You have someone." Ethan froze. He hadn't said it, but she saw it on his face, the weight behind. His eyes, the quiet desperation of a man fighting for more than himself. He sank onto a crate, elbows on his knees. He didn't want to talk, didn't want to open the door to that part of his life, but the silence pressed too hard. "Her name's Lena, my daughter, 9 years old, smart as hell, loves music, but..." He swallowed, staring at the floor. "She's sick, some kind of degenerative condition. Doctors can't even explain half of it. They just keep handing me pills that buy her a little more time." Isabella's expression shifted. Pain, recognition, anger all at once. That's what they do. They dangle hope, and then they turn people like your daughter into experiments. Ethan's head snapped up. "What are you saying?" She leaned closer, her whisper trembling but urgent. "The files I took, they're not about cures. They're records, subjects, failed trials, people they promised to heal, but instead..." Her voice caught. She wrapped her arms around herself. "They locked them in labs. Tested serums, nanotech injections, neurological drugs. Most didn't survive." Ethan's stomach twisted. His hands curled into fists. "You're telling me Graves, Botek is experimenting on kids?" Her silence was answer enough. Then she added, barely audible, "There was a name, a child in the database. Cole. I didn't have time to read more before I ran." The world tilted under him. His chest burned, breath caught in his throat. "Cole? You're sure?" She nodded, eyes shimmering with regret. Ethan stood abruptly, pacing the small room. He felt the old fire, anger, the soldier's clarity surge back into his veins. This wasn't random. This wasn't just a runaway bride. This was his daughter's life on the line. "All right. Then I can't let you do this alone." Isabella looked at him, searching his face. "You're risking everything. I already risk everything, every damn day, just to keep her breathing. If Graves has anything to do with Lena's illness, I need to know." The closet fell silent except for the pounding rain. Something unspoken passed between them, an alliance born not of trust, but of necessity. Meanwhile, across the city, high above the storm, in a penthouse office of glass and steel, Clara Graves stared at the news ticker scrolling across her tablet. Reports of the runaway bride had already surfaced on gossip feeds. She sighed, placing the tablet down beside a neat stack of case files. The office door opened. Alexander strode in, removing his gloves with a calm precision that made her skin crawl. Quite the scandal. The city loves a runaway bride story. Alexander's smile was thin, dangerous. Isabella is confused. She'll come back? Clara arched an eyebrow. You mean she'll be dragged back? He didn't answer. He poured a drink instead, the crystal clink echoing in the vast office. Clara studied her brother, impeccable as always, yet there was a shadow in his eyes tonight. Alex, if she talks, if she shows anyone what she took, she won't. The words were final, cold. He turned, swirling the amber liquid in. His glass. Do you know what separates us from the rest of this pathetic world, Clara? Vision, the courage to do what others won't. Clara's jaw tightened. She'd built her career cleaning up his messes in court, shielding the company from lawsuits, spinning the narrative. But she wasn't blind. She knew lines had been crossed. Lines her brother erased with a single pen stroke. And if your vision destroys lives, he set the glass down, stepping closer until his presence loomed, then those lives were weak, and weakness is expendable. For the first time, Clara let the silence stretch. She forced herself not to flinch, but inside, a seed of doubt cracked open wider. Back in the storage closet, Ethan checked the hallway through a crack in the door. The guards had moved upstairs. For now, they had breathing room. He turned to Isabella. You still have that drive? She tapped the hidden pocket in the jacket. It's encrypted. I can't unlock it alone, but it's enough to prove what they're doing. Ethan nodded. His mind was already racing. Routes through the building, ways to avoid cameras, options for disappearing into the city. But then, a softer thought broke through the storm in his head. Lena's at home, waiting for me. I promised her I'd be back by morning. Isabella's face softened. Tell me about her. Ethan hesitated, then exhaled. She loves the piano, can't play much anymore, hands shake too bad, but she hums every note. Says the music makes her forget the pain. She's tough, tougher than me. His voice faltered, and for the first time that night his walls cracked. And if what you're saying is true, then Graves has been lying to every family like mine, selling hope while using our kids like lab rats. Isabella reached out, resting a trembling hand on his arm. Then we stop him, together. He met her eyes, and in that moment, he wasn't just a janitor or an ex-soldier or a single dad. He was a father who'd found the one lead that might save his child. Outside the closet, a radio crackled. Guards patrolled closer again. Ethan clenched his jaw, ready. This wasn't over. It was only beginning. And upstairs, Clara Graves poured herself a glass of wine, staring out at the storm. Her brother's words echoed in her mind. Vision, weakness, expendable. Her reflection in the window looked back at her. Not a loyal sister, not a corporate lawyer, but a woman caught between blood and conscience. And for the first time in years, Clara wasn't sure which side she belonged to. The basement tunnels of Graves Biotech stretched like veins beneath the city, concrete walls sweating with damp, fluorescent bulbs flickering every few yards. Ethan led the way, his footsteps echoing too loudly in the silence. Isabella trailed close behind, clutching the flash drive under his jacket. You know where you're going? Maintenance shafts. I used to pull double shifts down here. There's a service exit on 12th Street if it's not sealed. Her breathing quickened as water dripped from the pipes above. The further they went, the more it felt like a labyrinth. One wrong turn and they'd be cornered. Suddenly, a beam of light cut across the tunnel. Ethan shoved Isabella against the wall, hand instinctively reaching for a weapon he didn't have. A flashlight clicked off. A familiar voice broke the silence. You always did have a habit of showing up where you don't belong, Cole. Ethan exhaled slowly. Out of the shadows stepped Marcus Kane, stocky, late 40s, his uniform jacket unbuttoned, cigarette dangling from his lips. The lines on his face carried years of bad choices. Marcus. Been a long time. What's it been? Afghanistan? Or that bar fight in Philly? Ethan didn't answer. His eyes flicked to the badge on Marcus's chest. You working for Graves now? Pays better than bouncing drunks, and these days, loyalty's just another currency. His gaze shifted to Isabella, soaked and pale. His smirk faded. Let me guess, the runaway bride. City can't shut up about you. Isabella stiffened, but Ethan stepped in front of her. We need out, now. Marcus studied him for a long beat, then chuckled, shaking his head. You've got some nerve asking me for favors after all these years? I saved your ass once. Kabul. Alleyway full of IEDs. You'd be ashes if I hadn't pulled you out. Marcus's jaw worked. The cigarette glowed red as he took a long drag, then flicked it to the ground. Damn it, Cole, always cashing in debts when it's least convenient. They moved deeper into the tunnels, Marcus leading now, his keycard bypassing. Checkpoints Ethan couldn't. As they walked, he muttered under his breath, You think this is just a corporate scandal? Graves has contracts with defense, bio-enhancements, neural warfare, soldier serum crap. Half the army's waiting for prototypes from this place. Isabella froze. You mean this isn't just about cures? Cures. Sweetheart, they're not trying to heal the sick. They're trying to build perfect soldiers. And trust me, you don't want to know what's in those labs upstairs. Ethan's stomach turned. His hand clenched into a fist at his side. So Lena, she's not just a patient, she's a test case. Marcus gave him a sidelong glance. I didn't say that, but if your kid's name showed up in their files, yeah, Cole, that means she's already in their system, which makes her leverage. The words hit harder than a bullet. Ethan's jaw. He flexed, rage boiling under the surface. Meanwhile, high above the storm, Alexander Graves stood in his private office. The glass walls trembled with the wind, lightning painting his reflection in violent flashes. He held Isabella's engagement, ring in his palm, turning it over slowly. His other hand clenched the report on his desk. She stole from me, betrayed me, and she has help. Across the room, Agent Rivera stood at ease. Mid-30s, sharp suit, sharper eyes. Her presence radiated calculation, as though she'd already mapped out every move he hadn't spoken. Then it's simple. We close the net. Alexander looked up. You understand what's on that drive. Enough to know it never sees daylight. She stepped closer, sliding a dossier onto his desk, grainy security stills of Ethan leading. Isabella into the tunnels, ex-military Ethan Cole, single father, records scrubbed after honorable discharge, now working maintenance here, which means he knows the underbelly of this building better than my teams do. Alexander's lips curled in disdain. A janitor, a soldier who hides well, but everyone has a weakness. She flipped the dossier open, Lena Cole's medical chart staring up in clinical black and white. His is 9 years old, fragile, and waiting at home. For a moment, Alexander's eyes softened, not with sympathy, but calculation. Then they hardened like ice. Find him, find her, break him where it hurts. Rivera nodded once, her face unreadable. Then she gathered her files and walked out, heels clicking like a metronome of inevitability. Back in the tunnels, Marcus halted at a steel security gate. He swiped his card, but the light blinked red. Damn, they've already locked down. Ethan stepped forward. Options? Marcus smirked faintly. Always an option, just not one you'll like. He pried open the panel, rewiring with a pocket. Tool, sparks flew. The lock groaned. Finally, the gate slid open an inch at a time, but the noise echoed. Too loudly. From down the tunnel, boots thundered, flashlights swept across the darkness. They're coming. Ethan grabbed her hand, pulling her through the gate as Marcus shoved it shut behind them. Go. I'll buy you a head start. Ethan spun on him. You won't make it alone. Marcus smirked, eyes glinting. Story of my life. Before Ethan could argue, Marcus shoved him forward. The last thing Ethan saw before the gate sealed was Marcus drawing his sidearm facing the approaching lights with a weary, defiant grin. They ran. The tunnels curved, dipping lower until the air grew damp and foul. Isabella's breath came ragged, her steps faltering, but Ethan's grip never loosened. Behind them, distant gunfire cracked. Then silence. "Will he... Don't think about it. Just keep moving." Lightning flickered through a storm drain above, casting their shadows long against the walls. Ethan's mind burned with Marcus's warning. Military contracts, experiments, his daughter's name on a file. It wasn't just survival anymore. It was war. The storm had dulled to a steady drizzle by the time Ethan and Isabella reached the safe house, a crumbling brick building tucked behind. An abandoned warehouse. The windows were boarded, the air thick with mildew, but it was the kind of place nobody searched anymore. Ethan pushed open the warped door, sweeping the corners with a soldier's instinct before motioning Isabella inside. Not much but its cover. Isabella sank onto a torn couch, clutching her knees to her chest. For the first time since the rain-soaked wedding escape, the adrenaline ebbed enough for her to break. "You don't understand? I've been running from him my entire life." Ethan crouched across from her, resting his arms on his knees. "Then, make me understand." She stared into the dark, her voice low but sharp. "My parents were scientists, not saints, but decent people. They worked for Graves Biotech before Alexander took over. When they found out what he was funding, secret neuroserum trials, children being injected without consent, they tried to blow the whistle." Her lip quivered, eyes filling. 2 weeks later, they died in a car crash. At least that's what the report said. But I know Alexander. He stages accidents like other men schedule meetings. Ethan clenched his jaw. Lightning outside illuminated the hollow ache on her face. "After that, he raised me, said it was for my protection, but it was really control. He groomed me to be his asset. Every gala, every alliance, every handshake, he paraded me as leverage. And when I got older, he decided I'd marry him, not out of love, out of power." Her shoulders shook as tears streaked down her face. "I was never a bride, I was a bargaining chip." For a moment, silence. Then Ethan leaned closer, his voice low but firm. "And you finally broke free?" She nodded, gripping the flash drive. "Isabella, because of this, my parents left breadcrumbs, files they hid before their deaths. I found them, proof of what Alexander's doing." Ethan pulled his phone, his thumb hesitating over a number he'd sworn never to call from inside. "Company property." Finally, he hit dial. A tired but warm voice answered. "Ethan, it's late. Is Lena?" "She's fine, for now. But I need to ask you something, Maria. And I need the truth." There was a pause. "Ethan, where are you?" "Doesn't matter. Just tell me." "Graves's program. The neuroserum trials. Are they using children?" Static crackled, then a hushed whisper. "Who told you that?" "Doesn't matter. Answer me." A beat of silence. Then Maria's voice cracked, the weight of years of secrets pressing through. The phone. "Yes, children with degenerative disorders. They told us it was compassionate research, but I saw the charts. They weren't trying to cure them, Ethan. They were testing neurological enhancements. Your daughter, Ethan's grip on the phone tightened until his knuckles went white. "Don't say it. Lena's name is on their list." The words felt like a blade twisting in his chest. Isabella covered her mouth, watching him crumble but refusing to let him shatter. "If that's true, Maria, if they've touched her, don't do anything reckless. Please. They monitor everything. If they suspect me, I'm finished." Ethan's voice hardened, steel beneath the storm. "Then keep her safe until I get back. That's all I ask." He ended the call, the silence in the room heavier than gunfire. Miles away, in a polished Washington, D.C. office, Victor Hale adjusted his cufflinks with clinical precision. Mid-50s, silver hair, eyes like cold steel. He stood across from Alexander Graves, who poured 2 glasses of scotch but drank alone. "You're losing control of your asset." "She is not an asset. She's mine." Victor didn't flinch. He simply clasped his hands behind his back, tone flat as a blade. Semantics. What matters is the data she carries. The Pentagon has invested too much in this program to watch it collapse because of your emotional entanglements. Alexander's eyes narrowed. Careful, Hale. No, you be careful. The neuroserum is not just your empire's future, it's national security. Foreign buyers are circling. If word leaks, if that drive surfaces, we have a geopolitical nightmare, so fix it. Alexander slammed his glass down, scotch splashing across polished wood. I will. She won't get far. And when I have her, no one will ever question who holds the leash. Victor's face remained stone, but his words carried quiet menace. See that you do, or I will. Back in the safe house, Ethan sat in silence, staring at the floor. Isabella approached carefully, her voice soft. I'm sorry about Lena. I didn't know. Ethan lifted his head, his eyes fierce but wet. She's the only reason I'm still breathing. They won't touch her, not while I'm alive. Isabella hesitated, then placed the flash drive on the table between them. Then we stop him. Not just for Lena, for every child. Ethan studied her, torn between fury and exhaustion. Finally, he reached across the table, closing his hand over the drive. Then we fight. Together. Lightning cracked outside, illuminating two broken souls bound by loss, now united by a war bigger than either had ever chosen. The safe house lights flickered as Isabella slid the flash drive into a battered laptop. Ethan paced like a caged wolf, his jaw tight, while Isabella whispered into the mic, Helena, it's me. I need you. Static. Then a crackle of laughter. Helena Cross, mid-30s, eccentric genius, appeared on the scrambled video feed. Purple streaks in her hair, a dozen. Empty coffee cups around her. Well. The runaway bride finally dials in. What's the emergency? Fashion disaster or international conspiracy? Both. But start with the conspiracy. Can you decrypt this? Helena whistled as the files loaded, her eyes darting across the scrolling. The code. Military-grade encryption. Someone didn't want this party trick leaked. Give me 30 minutes, 2 espressos and a bribe. You'll get nothing except speed. Lives are on the line. Helena raised an eyebrow. Oh, I like him. Ex-military, right? You people always scream classified like it's foreplay. Ethan glared, but Isabella shot him a small smile. For the first time, a flicker of light pierced the tension. The door creaked. Ethan instinctively reached for a pipe, but a familiar voice rasped, Easy, soldier boy, it's just me. He was bruised, his uniform torn, but still standing. Ethan stared in disbelief. I thought, yes, so did I. Turns out I'm too damn stubborn to die. He dropped heavily into a chair, lighting a cigarette with shaky hands. Heard chatter on the radios. Graves has tightened the grid. But I know another way in, the old storm tunnels beneath the East Wing. That's where they keep the special cases. You want your proof? That's where you'll find it. Ethan locked eyes with him. Children. Marcus exhaled smoke, his silence answering louder than words. Later that night, Ethan dialed another number. It rang twice before a groggy, gravelly voice answered. If this is about a bar tab, I told them, it's me. Silence, then a bitter laugh. Early 40s, once a decorated journalist, now an alcoholic wreck. Ethan, the great protector, calling me after what, 5 years? What's wrong? Need a babysitter? I need information. Alexander Graves. Dig deep. I know you still have contacts. Glass clinked on the other end. You think I'm still a journalist. I'm a washed-up drunk who couldn't print a grocery list. Why should I help you? Ethan's voice cracked just slightly. Because it's Lena. They've marked her. The silence stretched heavy. Finally, Noah exhaled. Text me what you have. I'll see what's left of my old Rolodex. Meanwhile, in her high-rise office, Clara Graves sat staring at her reflection. The call she was about to make could damn her. Her brother's voice echoed in her memory. Family above all. But Isabella's tearful face from the ceremony haunted her more. She picked up her phone, fingers trembling, and dialed Alexander. She's alive. and she has help. Alexander's silence was sharper than any threat. Then his tone came smooth, venomous. You did the right thing, Clara. Family always protects family. But when the line clicked dead, Clara buried her face in her hands, guilt eating her alive. Back at the safe house, Helena's eyes lit up as the last barrier cracked. Got it! Oh, you're gonna love this! Coordinates! A hidden sub-level under the East Wing. Lab not listed on any blueprints. And oh boy, patient files, kids, dozens of them, including Lena Cole. Ethan's chest tightened. Bastards! But before they could react, the lights flickered. A low rumble. Marcus's head snapped up. We've been tagged! Move! Windows shattered as flashbangs clattered inside. Shouts echoed. Agent Rivera's voice boomed from a bullhorn outside. Ethan Cole! Isabella Hart! Step out, hands up, or you won't make it off this block. Smoke poured in. Ethan grabbed Isabella's hand. Rooftops, now! They burst onto the fire escape, scrambling into the rain-slicked night. Spotlights sliced through the fog as Rivera's tactical team swarmed below. We'll never make it. Yes, we will. Trust me. They sprinted across rooftops, boots skidding on wet tar. Bullets sparked against chimneys. Helicopter blades thundered overhead. Rivera tracked them from the street, barking into her comms. Cut them off east side, herd them toward the river. Ethan vaulted a gap between buildings, pulling Isabella after him. She stumbled, nearly falling, but his grip yanked her back to safety. Why are you doing this? You don't even know. Me, because they touched my daughter. The raw fury in his voice silenced her doubts. For a moment she matched his pace, no longer just running, fighting to survive. They slid down a slanted roof, landing hard in a dark alley. The roar of boots closed in. Ethan pressed Isabella against the wall, both gasping for air. This isn't over, not by a long shot. Above them, Rivera's silhouette appeared on the rooftop, scanning the alley below. Her eyes narrowed, calculating. They're ghosts, but they won't stay that way. The storm raged above ground as Ethan, Isabella, Marcus and Helena crept into the storm tunnels. Every step echoed, water dripping like a ticking clock. Helena carried a jury-rigged tablet glowing faintly in the dark. Security grids layered. Cameras every 30 feet. Give me 90 seconds per lockout, or we're fried. Marcus smirked, his pistol loose in hand. You sound confident. I'm alive, aren't I? Confidence is cheaper than luck. Ethan scanned the walls, his soldier's instinct screaming. The air grew colder the deeper they went. Metal doors loomed ahead, unmarked, sterile. They bypassed the first checkpoint, then the second. Each one ratcheted up the tension. By the third, sweat slicked Ethan's hands despite the chill. If we see Lena, when, not if. The final lock disengaged with a hiss. The door slid open to reveal a cavernous underground lab. White floodlights glared down on rows of glass chambers, each containing a child suspended in thick, glowing fluid. Electrodes pulsed at their temples. Machines hummed, feeding neon blue serum into their veins. Isabella gasped, covering her mouth. Helena froze, her sarcasm dying on her lips. Ethan staggered forward, fists clenching. His gaze darted from chamber to chamber until he froze. Lena. Her small body floated in one of the pods, pale but alive, her dark hair swirling in the liquid. Her eyes fluttered, half-conscious. Oh, God. Helena scanned the console. These kids, they're test beds, neuroserum rewiring their nervous systems. Half of them won't survive the next dose. Marcus exhaled slowly, his face unreadable. Applause echoed. They turned to see Alexander Graves, flanked by Agent Rivera and armed guards, his suit immaculate, his expression smug. Remarkable, isn't it? The future of humanity, right here. Disease, weakness, frailty erased. Enhanced soldiers, built to withstand anything. Nations will beg for what I offer. Ethan stepped forward, rage boiling. You're torturing children. Alexander tilted his head. Sacrifices. Every revolution demands them. Isabella trembled but found her voice. You murdered my parents. You kept me as a prisoner. And Now this, you call it progress? Alexander's smile faltered, a flash of annoyance. You were leverage, nothing more. But you still have value. Come back, Isabella. Stand beside me. Share in the vision. I'd rather burn with them than reign with you. As Alexander's men advanced, Marcus suddenly raised his weapon, not at them, but at Ethan. I told you, Cole, I'm no hero. Graves offered me more than you ever could, enough to disappear. Ethan's stomach dropped. Marcus. For a heartbeat, it looked over. Then shots rang out. One guard dropped, then another. Clara Graves stepped out from the shadows, pistol smoking. Enough, Marcus. You sell your soul cheap, Marcus cursed, torn between greed and loyalty. Alexander sneered. Traitors, all of you! Rivera lunged, firing at Helena. The hacker went down screaming, clutching her chest. Her tablet clattered to the floor, sparks flying. No! Isabella dashed for the console, hands flying across the controls. Sirens blared as containment locks disengaged. Red lights flashed. Get them out! Children's pods began to drain, alarms shrieking. Guards scrambled as freed kids stumbled into the chaos. Victor Hale emerged from another corridor, his government badge gleaming. Shut it down. None of this leaves this room. These children belong to national security. The words froze Ethan in his tracks. They belong to their families. Amid the chaos, Ethan charged Alexander. The two men clashed in the center of the lab, fists, elbows, raw fury. Glass shattered as they slammed into equipment. You're fighting evolution itself. I'm fighting a monster. Blood smeared the floor. Alexander fought with calculated brutality, Ethan with desperate fatherly rage. The fight dragged across catwalks and steel platforms, every blow echoing. Below, Isabella yanked children toward safety. Clara covered her, exchanging fire with Rivera. Marcus hesitated, then finally chose. He shot a guard threatening Lena's pod, muttering a curse at his own betrayal. Damn you, Cole. Alexander slammed Ethan against a railing, choking him. Ethan's vision blurred. Then, fire alarms erupted. Sprinklers hissed. Isabella stood by the master console, her hand bleeding. Where she smashed the glass cover. Run, children, run! Doors unlocked across the lab. Kids bolted in every direction. Guards tried to stop them, but confusion reigned. Alexander roared, shoving Ethan aside. You dare ruin my creation! He lunged at Isabella, but Ethan tackled him mid-stride. They crashed into a glass chamber, shards slicing both men. The fight reached its crescendo. Alexander grabbed a scalpel, slashing wildly. Ethan disarmed him, driving a knee into his ribs. Blood sprayed. Without me, they'll all die. Then we'll find another way. With a final surge, Ethan hurled Alexander against an exposed power conduit. Electricity arced, engulfing him in a flash. He convulsed, then collapsed, smoke rising from his suit. Silence fell. Broken only by the wail of alarms, Rivera dragged herself upright, fury burning. But Clara leveled her gun. It ends tonight. Rivera hesitated, then retreated into the shadows. Victor Hale surveyed the destruction, eyes narrowed. You've made enemies bigger than Graves. This was national interest, and you've just declared war. He vanished with soldiers at his back, leaving the lab in ruins. Ethan staggered to Lena's pod, smashing it open. She collapsed into his arms, weak but breathing. Daddy, his tears mixed with blood. I've got you, baby, you're safe. Now. Isabella approached, exhausted, drenched. Their eyes met, a silent acknowledgement of survival, of sacrifice. Clara limped closer, guilt etched into her face. This isn't over. Graves was only the beginning. Ethan held Lena tighter, staring at the fire spreading through the lab. Then we fight again, but not tonight. They carried the children out, alarms echoing behind them as smoke swallowed. The empire Alexander built. News cameras flashed outside the courthouse. Protesters shouted, holding up signs, "Justice for the children," and shut down Graves' biotech. Inside, Alexander Graves sat shackled at the defense table, still immaculate in a dark suit, though his hands trembled. Across the aisle sat Clara Graves, her eyes hollow but resolute. The gavel struck. Judge Morrison, stern and towering in his robes, glared down. This court has reviewed the evidence, encrypted files, testimonies, and first-hand accounts of inhumane trials. Mr. Graves, your empire is not medicine. It is exploitation. Alexander leaned forward, smirking faintly. History will vindicate me. You need me more than you know. Without me, your enemies win. The judge's voice cut like iron. The only place you're going is prison. Cheers erupted from the gallery. Journalists scribbled. Cameras snapped. Alexander's jaw clenched. But before guards led him away, he locked eyes with Clara. Blood betrays blood. You'll regret this. Clara did not flinch. No, brother, for once I don't. After the trial, the players scattered. Marcus Kane was gone. No one saw him leave the city. Some claimed he took hush money, others that he vanished to atone. Ethan kept silent. He knew Marcus too well. His friend was a ghost now, living between guilt and survival. Agent Rivera had slipped, free during the chaos. Rumors swirled of her resurfacing abroad, working for syndicates that wanted the serum. Ethan knew she was unfinished business, and Victor Hale, he was the most dangerous shadow. Though Graves fell, Hale remained in Washington, whispering of national security in closed rooms. His war wasn't over, just delayed. The rescued children were moved into protective custody. Hospitals overflowed with specialists. Parents wept as reunions filled sterile halls. Among them was Lena Cole, fragile but alive, recovering under the care of Dr. Maria Chen. For weeks, Ethan barely left her side. One night, Lena stirred awake, her voice weak. "Daddy, was it real? The place with the lights and glass?" Ethan squeezed her hand, tears burning. "It's over now, you don't have to be afraid anymore." She smiled faintly, drifting back to sleep. That smile was the first he'd seen in months. Meanwhile, Isabella stood outside a quiet townhouse in the suburbs, clutching a letter. The door opened, revealing a woman with streaks of grey in her hair, Evelyn Hart, her long-lost aunt. For a long moment, neither spoke. Then Evelyn's eyes brimmed with tears. "You look just like your mother." Isabella's voice broke. "I thought I had no one left." Evelyn pulled her close. "You'll never be alone again, not as long as I breathe." For the first time, Isabella felt the crushing weight of her past ease. She had a family again. Clara stood on the courthouse steps after giving her testimony. Reporters swarmed, microphones shoved in her face. "Ms. Graves, how does it feel to send your own brother to prison?" Clara paused, then spoke clearly. "It wasn't about family. It was about right and wrong. My brother destroyed lives. Now maybe we can start to rebuild them." Her words echoed across news broadcasts, turning her into an unlikely symbol, the sister who chose justice over blood. But inside, Clara's heart ached. She had lost her family, her name, her empire. Redemption carried its own price. Weeks later, Ethan walked into Lena's hospital room to find Isabella sitting by her bedside, reading aloud from a children's book. Lena giggled softly. "You do all the voices." Isabella smiled, brushing a strand of hair from her face. "Every princess needs a storyteller." Ethan lingered in the doorway, watching the scene. The broken bride, the fragile child, somehow they had both become part of his world. That night, as they left the hospital together, Ethan murmured, "You don't have to stay." Isabella glanced at him, surprised. "Do you want me to?" Ethan hesitated, then nodded. "So does she." Isabella's eyes softened. "Then I'm not going anywhere." Months later, the Cole home glowed with warmth. Lena sat at a small, upright piano in the living room, her thin fingers pressing keys with growing strength. A gentle melody filled the air. Ethan stood behind her, his hands on her shoulders, tears shining in his eyes. Isabella sat nearby, watching, with quiet pride. When the song ended, Lena turned to her father. "See, Daddy, I'm better." Ethan's throat tightened. He bent down, kissing her forehead. "You're safe now." This time, the words were not a desperate promise, but a truth. Outside, the storm clouds had finally broken. Light spilled through the windows, warm and steady.